We are neither doomed nor guaranteed success. That's the intro to this episode, and this is a take two. I recorded this episode 2 days ago, and I lost all audio. I did a mic test before starting to stream, and then after streaming, it just went mute. I didn't notice it muted in the software. The microphone wasn't muted. So I'm gonna redo the episode because we're gonna get too far into the future without it, and it's also this is an opportunity for me to alter the plot a bit. I wasn't super happy with some of the with like the title I didn't like so much, and the few things I presented I didn't like so much. And one of the things I didn't do well in the first take of this, talking for 2.5 hours and just not being aware of it. I have like a another screen where I can see myself to verify if the internet connection's there. I was online, that's the thing. So the one clue would have been the mic. The gain on the mic not moving. I might not have noticed it. Something seemed off the whole episode where it's like there's something on my mental checklist I'm supposed to be double checking, and maybe it was the audio gain that I didn't notice. So one thing in the original recording that I regret was there was some topics that I didn't mention, so I kind of regretted that. So in this episode, we're gonna have a. I'm gonna make sure I get all the topics covered, and one of the reasons I don't think I mentioned them all was because I wasn't sure if I'd have enough time to cover them all. But because I've run through this once, I know there will be enough time. Even though I'm going to be doing a slightly different story this time. Right now, you're kind of watching. I'm not actually playing right now. See, the mouse is moving around. Both my hands are up in the air here, right? This is. I have the recording of the silent episode. So this was me playing originally. You can sort of see here what's going on here. The topic would have been skyrise. You can see some apartment buildings. Well, a second ago you saw them. It'll probably pan into view that were getting built. And the question was whether I could finish them before the end of the episode. Spoiler alert, I did. I didn't think I would, so that was a bit of the challenge of the episode. One thing about the way this show is done is that I'm not rigging this to be a show where I'm just guaranteed to win. I'm not. This is realistic mode, a mode that I've never won before, and I'm of Soviet Republic, and I'm trying to run this simulation as realistically as I could, simulating a U.S. city, right? And how if it were to switch to socialism. So you can see the apartments being built there. We can see it in the live game. I'll switch to live play shortly. But you see those yellow blueprints? Those were the skyscraper, or one of the skyscrapers I wanted to build. So we're a little bit further ahead in the future because I recorded a whole episode that I played a bit after, and I didn't realize I had no audio. So here I'm checking my frame rates. I'm checking my mic audio to make sure that doesn't happen again. So this is an easy mode for me. This is something that's a challenge for me. So personally, this is a challenge. I think maybe if you're watching the series, you can judge whether I'm I'm obviously a pro UBI person, but at the same time, I'm very fiscally conservative. Just the way I spend my money is very shrewd. So if you watch the series, you can see kind of the rationale behind my decision making. I don't necessarily give everything to everyone to make them all happy. That I deal with the reality of the simulation of the America simulator. Is what this is. Again, this is of all the games I've played, and I've played a lot of games. This is absolutely the most realistic society simulator there is. It has logistics. It has money considerations. It has health concerns. It covers the topics of worker productivity. So the intro is basically, me stating that I don't know if this is going to work. This could, much like East Germany, in the late 80s and many other nations, and, possibly the US itself, a nation can collapse if you mismanage it. And if you've been following the series, I explain a lot of like real life reasons why the U.S. Could collapse, and fake jobs being one of them. You get too high a percentage of your population into fake jobs, producing very little in exchange for consuming a lot, right? So you want to have the opposite of that, right? You want people who produce a lot but consume very little. So one of the reasons we create the fake jobs is because there is no social safety net. There's a lot of organizations that feel they're obligated to create these jobs so that people can feed themselves because there's nothing else in the system for them, which is ridiculous. Like it literally wouldn't be that hard. So I'm not guaranteed to succeed. This is difficult, but also I've been sort of monitoring my own play as we go, and I'm not doomed either. As far as I can tell, there's still hope in this world. There are a lot of problems. So in this episode, the things I want to cover are that. So later on, that will be like, that's sort of the stretch plot for this episode is we'll look at the numbers. We'll go later in the episode. I'm going to double check what's the outlook for. Like, think of this as a sporting event. This isn't a fully scripted show you're watching. It's a bit of a sport, right? As with all gaming and all simulations, you don't know what the outcome is. So I'm gonna make a bit of a prediction on whether this is gonna collapse or not. And it really is very much in the gray area. I've not really looked at it, and that was intentional just to make this episode. Other things I want to talk about. I'm going to mention a corporation I was a customer of recently that I was happy with. A tech corporation. So I'm going to give them a positive. You're going to go, what the heck? Positive thing to say about a corporation? Well, I'm objective, right? If I see something that's a good thing, I will point it out. Okay. And speaking of slightly positive things, I'm going to talk about Bill Gates. I don't know if you know the story with him and his foundation. Talk about an old TV show called L.A. Law. So for you Legal Eagle fans, I want to reference an older show, L.A. Law. Penguin Zero is a topic. And I'm going to spend a bit more time in this episode going over some of the things in the world because we're a year and a half ahead. And one of the things is grand monuments. That could be the topic of this episode even. Grand monuments. Okay, like that might be the title. We unlocked that recently. So without further ado, I think you've watched enough of the background here sort of playing, and we'll get into the game. And I'm going to show you the state of affairs in the world here. So I believe the last time I was playing, the last episode, it might have been 1971. And this was supposed to be in 1972, the video you're seeing, but we're going to minimize this and I'll show you reality. We're into January of 1973. So this is the real world, whatever. This, I didn't want to do a winter episode, but the need to do this, to re-record an episode here, came up on a bit of short notice. So a bit more of an intro than this is take 2 of episode 25. So I had a bit more of a preamble here than I previously did, so I'm probably further behind, but I don't have to re-explain some of the things. So I'll just tell you kind of what you missed, because this is probably the longest stretch of the series. Like if you're binge watching this, you're like, why did you go this far into the future? You're like, I think it was 1971. Late 1971, so we're a year and a half ahead. So I'll tell you what happened here. So I'm not sure if the the garbage incinerator was built in the last episode. I think I just started building it. I might have just unlocked the technology. And I know we went over how garbage gets sorted here. Since then, since setting up this garbage sorting facility, we now have this incinerator. So here's actually one of the topics. We'll go over this right away. And I want to explain something. When garbage comes into the garbage sorting facility, this is like this here. See where the cursor is? Can you see that? It shows when I hover over the mixed waste, it shows me the content of what's in there. Okay. This garbage dump here also has an input, and it varies slightly. It's somewhat random when you get the garbage come in, but once it gets sorted out, there's some remnants that have no, construction waste or scrap metal or anything. And then it goes into these big bins. And if I hover over these, it mostly says biological waste, burnable waste, other waste. So basically, the concrete, the metal scraps, the aluminum, the plastic that's in there is all gone in these big bins. So I've set up this distribution office here. Oh, sorry, here. Oh, no, sorry, it is here. But we don't have a truck in it right now. I'm probably going to move a few trucks around during the episode to take care of this. Because what they do now is they take that leftover garbage, that low quality garbage that's mostly, burnable waste, and they bring it to the incinerator. So one of the problems I've had in this initial episode is I didn't have enough burnable mixed waste queued before winter started. So I'm dealing with some problems here. I did this a little bit after the recording a couple of days ago, so I'm gonna have to focus a lot on this to make sure there's constantly heat here, and we got to tune this just right. Over the summer, we'll be able to stockpile a bunch of garbage, and that won't be an issue so much. But right now, that's the number one issue, and we have to keep coming back to that during this recording. What it does is it takes the mixed waste, the low quality stuff, it burns it, and then it sends it through the pipes here. Again, if you're not playing the game, maybe you find this interesting. Maybe you'll consider playing this game just so that, like, the level of realism this has. So what it does is it provides district heat to these zones with the garbage, burnt garbage. So it's kind of an efficient way to deal with your garbage, right? You get recycle you take all the good components out, all the metal, all the concrete, all the plastic, etc., and then just burn the rest for heat. I think a place like a lot of northern U.S. cities and Canadian cities and parts of Europe would be very wise to do something like that, because it's free. Basically, it's free heating, right? And free resources, very economically efficient. Although, this heat facility, this incinerator, if you look here, you see those clouds, the environmental pollution. It's very nasty. So that's one thing I've discovered when I built this apartment building in the last recording that isn't going to be released, and they're not terribly happy because I think they're too close to the garbage incinerator over here. The pollution, it's just in pollution range, but the nice thing about this building, at least, is all the workers here can just get out of the building and go to a money-making building. So I'm going to think whether I want to do that with another one of these, with the fourth and fifth wall. Our industries are not at capacity. I have it set up here so that the prime focus of the workers right now is to arrive to process garbage and then to produce heat out of the garbage. If there's not that's priority one. Everyone will vacate the city if I don't do that. So we're just keeping that under control. As for the rest of our Los Angeles or Soviet LA here, I don't know if there's too much interesting going on in the city. I think San Francisco. This won't change. This will probably be a season 2 project. And I'm constantly checking my frames and audio just because of that. Speaking for 2.5 hours and not being aware of it, that really sucks. That really sucks. Oh, I did forget the one thing. I forgot one thing in my intro. Because it's not written here. I never wrote it down. Okay, so one of the things I did in the previous recording was I noticed I scratch, my neck or something, or my side of my nose or something. And I'm trying not to do that this episode. So the reason I actually released the video only from the last episode. It's just going to be on Twitch as far as I know, and I'll take it down when I run out of space. Is because I challenged myself earlier in the episode not to do that. It's hard to speak, uninterrupted basically for several hours. And I wanted to see if I could do it. Like, humans naturally scratch themselves every 20 minutes or less. But when you watch a presenter, it doesn't look so good. So I wanted to see if I could improve on myself a little bit and see if I can do a whole episode without scratching. So that was the other thing it was missing. Oh, actually, I'm scratching my arm right now, but you can't see it. It only counts if if you see it on camera. And that's And also curling my beard like this, that's not a scratch. You know, if I go like this, that's, or if I play with my hair a little bit, that's not a scratch. Okay, just so we're clear. That's it has to be, and I have to notice myself doing it. But the thing is, I can watch the video later and see if I subconsciously do it and go, oh, you know, the Dunning Kruger principle, where self, well, 85% of drivers, or 80% of drivers think they're above average, right? Think about that one. If I'm going to try to not scratch my face, I'll do a self-reported perception of how many times I scratch, my chin or something. And ooh, it's a little bit itchy right now, but not too itchy. I can deal with it. What's the self-reported number versus my, once I go over the edits, the actual number. So it's a bit of a game within a game here. In terms of the world itself, I don't know how many of these farms were there last episode, but so this actually happened, not during last episode, but I do have to re-explain this. What's happening with our farms here? I believe there are more farms, and I was listening to Bebo Jones, and he did a video on how to be efficient with farms here, and he did a bit of a number crunch. Basically, from what I learned, is he said that for each of your combines, and these aren't the same ones. So I just sort of watch videos kind of quickly. I'm not here to show you how to play this game optimally. I'm just a guy playing what I think the most realistic society simulator is, to see if it can work to become independent of, capitalist intentions. And this is the game that's good at that. So, but I do need to be somewhat if I have the time, I'm going to learn a thing or two. So, his video basically said that, yeah, for every one of your combines, at least the ones in his video, they could do between 3 and 4 of these big farm fields. They could harvest between 3 and 4. And I had 2 combines. So if it's between 3 and 4, and also a medium is basically a third the size of a big one, I effectively have 7 big farms here. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So this should be about the right amount of farms, I figured, to match with the number of combines. I don't know if the storage capacity is sufficient, because I don't know how many workers, how fast they can process it. I know over the year they can empty it out, but when the harvest comes in, I think there could be more harvests than is possible. So that's one of the things to make it more efficient. He also pointed out that having these tractors, he's running experiments on the fertility, and he said having like 1.5 tractors for every combine was a good thing. So I did that. But the problem is, I think I need 3 to 4 covered hulls per combine, and there's not enough room. So he showed this trick where if you set up a small distribution office, you can effectively make your farm a little bit bigger. And this small distribution office, not only does it move crops into the farm or into the grain storage, these trucks can also, in the off season, pull the cattle and bring it to China. Also, you'll notice the priority is for it to unload up to, I'm going to say go back to 90% here, because I don't want this constantly be 100%. On just like, I move these numbers around based on, like, you have to adjust things in real time a little bit in this game, at least in the earlier years. It's very manual at first, and it gets more and more automated, just like real society. There's a lot of things in your world. You get your food in your stores, you get your your cars made, your gas stations have gas. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in the planning of all that, and you kind of take it for granted. But there's probably chaos behind the scenes, and this would be an example of something where you adjust the required storages just to meet demand, because harvest season affects how much I want to pack crops in there. But what it will do is it will unload the crops into the grain storage. But if it has crops to pick up, there's at least a 10% load. It will then decide to just sell the crops directly to China if it can't drop it off in the grain storage. Okay, So it's kind of a way to ensure none of the crops waste. And from what I from what was mentioned in the video too, he said if you leave your crops behind, it actually adds to the nutrient level for subsequent seasons. So if there's a little bit left over, that's probably okay. It'll save on fertilizer costs. So that's what's going on here. I learned a bit about how fertilizer works. Like, I think from what I can tell, when you store biological waste, it eventually becomes fertilizer. So I'm running a bit of an experiment because these livestock processing farms, we got the two of them that eat the crops that convert to livestock, are producing various wastes. So this one has biological and this one has mixed waste. And I did this earlier and it just turned to fertilizer at one point, so I'm wondering if that's just how it's made. A bit of a thing going on here, not that important. And of course, this distribution office will pull any cattle using the same trucks and sell it to China for quite a bit of money, right? We want to make money here. Our oil grasshoppers here are still running smooth as far as I can tell. Just do a quick check on the line here. Yeah, we got... two trucks going. I think I did some repairs and swaps on these vehicles, so there's a little bit stockpiled. You know, this is whenever you see a grasshopper with storage in it, it means you're not efficient, but we're kind of transitioning some machines. So that's what's going on here. Russia, I think's not too exciting. The workers, we have a bus that seems to be efficiently moving the workers in. They're not stockpiling. Likewise, China's the Chinese workers are coming in to work in the cattle farms, and we're adding some upgrades here like water treatment and whatnot. So again, I'm just going a little bit more on the catch up. I don't usually cover this much stuff in the show just because we're basically, again, I've recorded for 2.5 hours. Normally I would, do half as much of this up front, but there's just too much of the story that's incongruent if I don't explain it. Our train now has 4 wagons, and so it's got 2 box cars and 2 aggregate cars, and it's a really it seems to be working like kind of non-stop. The route is set up so that when it arrives at the warehouse, I'll just explain this. And there are some people who play the game who want to see, a little bit about how to, like, I'm getting not bad at this game. When I started this series, I was barely, like, I didn't, like, again, that's what makes this interesting, is that I didn't know if I was going to succeed at realistic mode, and I still don't know, but I am getting better as I go. So the way I configure this route is that it has a wait until unloaded setup. So it unloads crops in here, so it just waits. So the speed of it is, the clock is how fast the crops get consumed. So it can go fast, it can go slow, depending on how many workers there are. And then it will drop off aggregate to this aggregate storage facility, and it will go into our construction factories, and then it goes back to the custom house. Again, I think I might have explained this. The reason I go to the warehouse from the customs house, I go from customs house, warehouse down here, and then back to aggregate, and not to aggregate in between, is because there's a missing switcher. I can't cross over the tracks. And sometimes the train, if it goes to here first, which would be more logical, it'd be more economically efficient, but it can't cross over afterwards and it would get stuck. So that was happening. I saw that happen offline. So it's a little less fuel efficient to do it this way, but it's 100% reliable. And this also kind of ensures there's always going to be crops for processing, and none of the workers are wasting their time lacking materials. Another thing that happened last episode was I unlocked... See, when I unlocked the ability to build these skyscrapers... Okay, these aren't the tallest skyscrapers. I'll just show you a bit more. I forgot to do this too. Again, I did this in the previous recording, but it was muted, so I've unlocked a whole bunch of new buildings. And generally, they're a little bit taller and a little bit more cost-effective. So I want to build more of these. So this one was built last episode. This one's scheduled to be built, but right now we don't... we're in winter, and I don't want to grow the population in winter because it's just... it's not the best time to grow because everyone has a higher maintenance cost. and there's a settling down period. So I don't. It's just tricky to survive winter. But that unlocked the technology for taller buildings, but it also unlocked the technology to build this prefab. It's it's in the construction industry. Previously, this industry was grayed out, and so I queued it up. And during the last recording, I think I just started building this at the end, and it got built shortly after. So this actually would be slightly new, but you would have seen it on the ground if you'd seen the missed recording. I also added a bunch of new uh, conveyors and whatnot here to connect to it. So I made a mistake too offline. This facility here, I connected it, and it's supposed to buffer gravel because I made like this. This is gravel, and I wanted to have another. Gravel's like the critical part to everything. Your whole city, your concrete, everything's made out of gravel. So having an additional bin was okay. However, I forgot that there was coal going through here, and I just let it build, and then I went unattended, and then because there was coal there and this line wasn't built yet, it automatically just filled this up with coal, which has no use. So I actually had to empty this out. So it started filling up with coal. I had to stop this conveyor. I had, like basically go, like switch it to stop. And it basically, and then I had to manually empty it out. So that was kind of a terrible thing. Now it's set up to be fixed. However, we can't get gravel into it because we got to build this one here. And once that gets built, we'll start generating prefab. That said, we still have some prefab left here. So actually, one of the first things I'm going to do this episode is I'm going to... Oh no, I think I already did it. Yeah, I'll just show you some. We used to be picking up prefab here and delivering it because it was just cheaper. The rubles were a lower interest rate, so we were delivering, but I've stopped sourcing this. So eventually this is going to run out. So I'm going to put notifications when some of these things run out. Our bricks have been like that. Actually, I would like to do that with all these because with the construction going on, this is not a highly predictable supply chain. Like, food is highly predictable because people eat at a certain rate. Fuel's predictable, but construction, it depends on how many projects are working. And sometimes I'm running out like of all these things. It could even be boards. I shut down the boards facility sometimes, and it basically, I don't notice it, and everything gets held up because we're missing something. And I notice it too late. One more thing here in the world before we go into start playing is the status of the education. So we have enough people in our city that our facilities are maxed out. Our two universities are max employment. Technically, if we get much bigger than this, our people are going to get stupider and stupider. So what I'd like to do is run without growing the population too fast right now to get them a little bit overeducated so that once we get into the stupider and stupider people kind of dominating society, it'll give us some time before we have to add an additional university, okay? And I probably will go with the medical university next, as I think there's some really good technologies there, but it's very expensive. So we're not going to grow our population too much faster because this is becoming a bottleneck right now, a little bit. Like we can grow a little bit more. There's still, a few more job positions here. Our technology growth is going fine. So I'll just show you, right now we're researching. Okay, here's the prefab panels we got. And what I want to do in this episode, again, this just recently happened. I don't know if it was after the lost recording or during the lost recording, but we got grand monuments. And grand monuments isn't actually, this is a red technology, right? So that was researched at UCCP, not call tech, right? We don't, call tech, they monitor your calls. UCCP, they create grand monuments. From what I was reading on the game, loyalty is a big deal and it affects productivity. So there's even though our population isn't gonna grow, the intent here is to build some of the grand monuments in this episode, maybe one or two, and we'll then influence the loyalty of people, and the loyalty makes them um, more productive, and that therefore makes more money, right? So you want loyal, productive workers. So that's that technology there. But we're also currently researching. So right here at the Technical University, we're researching broadcasting. I don't think discovering this directly gets unlocks anything, but the next tier then lets me unlock the radio station. In which case, I can build the radio station and increase the loyalty of people, right? Without having to grow the population, just a more efficient population. That's the problem with a lot of countries that rely on immigrants. That rather like the alternative, theoretically better strategy is to just make your workers more productive, give them the right tools they need, the right knowledge they need, and that's generally better for the economy than you actually lower your GDP per capita if you bring immigrants in to do too much work, because even though your GDP goes up, your population goes up. So uh, it's not necessarily a positive thing. The UCCP is doing some political research. This will allow me to filter on loyalties in certain positions, and that's especially important here because I want to have um, more loyal students, right? Because I want the smart ones to stay and the dumb ones to go. They can become YouTube streamers, as far as I'm concerned. That's sort of the status of things here. But one thing before I press play here, I gotta like this was a very long intro. Again, a lot to cover. I want to do one of the topics here. I'm gonna maybe go a little bit from top to bottom, just random topics. Okay, on my list here. Well, maybe not totally top to bottom. The first topic I want to talk about is Penguin Zero. Why is Penguin Zero so popular? I think he has 30 million subscribers, and I've watched him. I'm one of the subscribers. I've watched him a few times, but I also watch like Hassan Piker. I watch Asmongold. I watch Kyle Kulinski on Secular Talk. I think, like objectively, I think Kyle Kulinski is a better YouTuber. Like just the way he does it. But again, maybe it's a little bit political and people don't like it. And maybe that's why Penguin Zero is better because most people don't give a crap about politics. Maybe it's because I'm a little older. I don't get it so much. But it's not to say he's definitely a talented YouTuber, much better than me. But 3 million times better than me. I don't know about that. I don't know. That seems like he's not really 3 million times better. It seems like an exaggerated number. And again, even though, like, as with all YouTubers, like, once you have like 100,000 or so plus subs, usually you have assistants that make it, like, it improves the quality of your channel because you have other people taking care of the editing, your audio, your videos kind of, there's like an expert who's going to help you a little bit with that. You just have the resources. You got the money, right? You can pay someone to do your taxes. I have to do everything myself. So obviously this is a crappier show. I understand that, but I'm just wondering why. Like, was he famous? Was he a top gamer at something? Like, did he win the world championship of Quake? Maybe one of the first hardcore level, 99 or 100 Path of Exile players, or Diablo or something. I don't know, why is he so famous. It just seems like a regular guy like me, and just talking about random things. And is it the volume of his content? Like there is some thought that goes into it. I like it, and his topics. They might have a broad fascination. Maybe he's just that much hotter than me, right? And that's it. And that there's no point in me doing that because I'm not good looking enough, right? Like, what's the point of doing this? If even if I can teach you about, the fake economy that we live in, which I don't think he does. I don't think he understands the nature of how the Federal Reserve and bonds and all that work. And I know this game, maybe this is geared towards older people. This game, but you'd think that some younger people would be interested. Where does the money come from? Like, what are the rules for printing money? Why are we under the fiat currency system? Actually, in the channel, there's some links. Like asides, like some background stories, because I don't want to re-explain for a full episode what some other content creators have already done. But Yeah, essentially the U.S. economy is a Ponzi scheme governed by the rich, and they pin it on, like the liberals pin it on the conservatives, and the conservatives pin it on the liberals. Democrats and Republicans just point at each other, blaming each other, while it's the super rich on both sides that are essentially, um, printing fiat money for themselves and making poor economic decisions. And that's how Rome fell. As soon as you got no as soon as you have a class of people that has no downward mobility, there's no incentive for that class of people to be good, right? That they can be completely incompetent. They can buy things for the economy that aren't needed, and they will sink the economy. And if you live in that economy, you're sunk too. Like the reason your economic opportunities might be bad in life, well, it's almost certainly the reason is because of someone else's incompetence that makes decisions. Usually it's a politician dealing with a local corporation, and that they use circular logic and selective reasoning, and they don't allow people. Like I've tried to communicate with these people, but they don't want to listen because my solutions involve them taking a pay cut, and they don't want to hear that. So that's the reality you live in, and that's what this show is about. To explain the harms of that. I'd be happy with 3,000 subscribers right now, to be honest. Not, but 30 million, that's insane. 30 million. I got to work on that. Okay, let's play a little bit of the game here, and then I'll go over the topics. We'll go back and forth. I want to make sure before I play though. I want to make sure because we are out of heating materials right now. There's no mixed waste, so even if there is someone showing up for work and it says right there, missing resource, mixed waste. I want to make sure all the vehicles. Do we have enough mixed waste? Now we're low on mixed waste coming in. We do have mixed waste we could bring in to produce heat. I think what I want to do is gather every big garbage container. I think I'm even going to send one in from... oh, that's a long trek. I think we have one over here. Let me just check if we have... Like, we're not farming anything right now. Let's see how full these are. Half full. And this one is a little bit full. Actually, you know what we could do? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take... Just every little bit counts here. I'm going to send this truck here to this station. Play for a second. And I'm going to tell it to go to pick up the mixed waste here. And I'm going to have it unloaded all the way over here. All the way over here, where we need extra mixed waste. And I'm going to try to catch that truck. Remind me to try to catch this truck. And once it's in the vicinity, it'll start servicing this area because we need every big... Like, this is a heating emergency. Right now, the valve is at 0. That means we are going to start losing tenants in this building here. Because it's too cold. And they get a little bit of heat from this facility, but it's just too distant to think. Oh, one other thing too. I'm going to do a quick clip here. This is reference to another YouTuber, HoneyBadger. I saw a video that he did on this. I thought this was fascinating. So this is a very quick tutorial in the game. There's these big heat exchangers in the game, like right here, that produce, they have 300 meter cubes of input steam. And he says that the steam that radiates out of these heat exchangers, see these lines here? The further away you are from the line, the more heat gets lost. So he said it's more efficient to split these big ones through a heat pumping station. Like you run a line from your heating facility, like here, this line here, right here, into it, and then split it into 3 small ones. He said it's more efficient because you're kind of buttressing up your heat plants right up close to the buildings. So they're like, rather than just plunk one in the middle where there's losses, put one in the middle and fan it out in 3 directions like that. So So that was HoneyBadger on YouTube. I learned that from. So I stole that. I wanted to do that, and actually I want to do it over here too, but this I didn't learn that till after this one was queued for construction. However, as we expand into this region, I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. This is a very narrow region. I don't want to waste heat inefficiently. So just a little side note. Yeah, but we're about to press play here. I want to make sure our heat's good here. See, this valve's pinned at max, so we're getting, in all the winters, like this is our 13th winter. This is the first winter that this coal plant at least has been. So that means the people in downtown, like 63% happiness in January. That's a new record. That's quite happy. It's most years they're just gone. It's 0%. There's been like last year I think they were in the 20s and 30s, but so we're doing that well. But this building here at 32%, that's because it's too far away from the heat, and it's all related to the heat problem we're having with our garbage, burnable garbage. So I just want to make sure we have enough big garbage trucks. So here we have two routes of, this is high quality garbage coming in. Okay. So you notice our garbage is disappearing. All our dumps are disappearing. This dump here, this is actually just ash. Look at that. I'm hovering over that. You see that? Ash. So after it gets burnt, it gets picked up in these big garbage containers and it gets sent out here. So that's the process with that. This will just blow away eventually. We might have to build another dump to fill it up. But so I got this to notify me if filling. So we have quite a bit of like potential energy here, at least for sorting and then creating heat from. So I'd like to add an extra garbage truck there if available. So if I see some that aren't busy, maybe we have some in a demolition office here. But I want to get these all sort of gathered up before getting on to a little bit more active gameplay. I'm going to have to race on quite a few more topics here because this has been a very long intro, and I think informative though. You don't want this whole series to be out of nowhere. It just, like, what's going on here, right? Where are the garbage trucks? I wonder if we have some unusual routes here. I'm just going to do a quick check. I don't name my routes if they're not intended for... Okay, so this is the route we just set up at the start. If it's not meant as a permanent route, I don't give it a name. So that's how I identify the fake, temporary routes. But this one here has no name. What's it doing? Oh, it's just bringing garbage in. Okay, we can't have... let's see if we can find one of these trucks. It's a bit of a long distance haul to get that garbage in. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. Let's see where this guy is. He's halfway there. Let's let him keep going. On this guy, yeah. So we got two trucks bringing garbage in. I'd like to catch one of those as well, and then start hauling it into the incinerator. We got to get one immediately to grab these big waste bins and put them in here immediately, as fast as humanly possible. And this one here should be doing that. Okay. Yes, okay. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to edit this. Yeah, this guy will do it. Yeah, he'll just... I don't want to be more efficient. So it's going to fix itself. I don't have to worry about it. This guy is going to do that. Because that's what this guy does. He loads from Dump HQ and unloads at the medium quality garbage facility. So this is... I'm getting good enough at this game that I know a little bit what I'm doing here. So this guy should shortly find a route, which he did. So he's going to unload the garbage in. I wish he would have... Actually, that's kind of good. That's a smarter decision than I would have picked some up, then unloaded, but we got workers here not producing heat. So he'll unload it right away. And then he should go and grab some of these bins here. And I have to fine-tune the workers so that the amount of... Like, this is coming down to one or two work. You got one too many workers, the whole thing goes to crap. We need enough garbage here to be able to, yeah, so this is that truck. It went directly here. We need enough garbage here to dump in. So we have to sort it fast enough that we can burn it. This, again, the timing was terrible of this. This would have been nicer to have this working, this up and running in spring, so I could have buffered a whole bunch. There was a bit buffered, but not enough. I didn't realize the demand of it. And I think we're going to have to expand this. I think after the episode, I'm going to get a rail network connected here, and we're going to start hauling garbage into this facility, because eventually we're going to run out of garbage here. So we're going to have to start buying the garbage is, I think, the next stage. But I won't do that in this episode. We just kind of want to survive the winter, do a population count, and build some grand monuments, as you saw in the technology. So maybe we should do that now. I don't know if that's the most exciting thing. You know, let's do a topic again. We did some gameplay. We got to go back and forth. Okay, maybe I'll go a little bit more linearly here. I want to talk about Bill Gates, the story of Bill Gates. So he just announced that he's going to give away all his money, like basically 20 billion. I don't think he has 20 billion anymore, but his plan is to ultimately give away 20. I think it's 10 bill or something like $10 billion a year for 20 years, or 20 billion for 10 years or something. It might be 10 billion. Like, that's quite a bit. So as much as I crap on these billionaires and their you know, how burdensome they are to society, like how many resources they take for what they contribute, you know, as kind of the front man for the organization. And again, it's not an issue if you if there's no homelessness, if everyone's got a car, everyone's happy, maybe everyone's only working, you know, 24 hours a week, you're doing a good job as a billionaire. You know, I know in France they have a 30, I think it's a 32-hour work week. So the rich people there are kind of doing their job, right? But a lot of America, there's a lot of problems in a lot of areas. So yeah, if you have that much money, you're supposed to be managing it better, and they're enriching themselves and their friends way too much. It's like the Romans did before the fall, and that, of course, is of concern to any American, right? But Bill Gates, good on him. That's to give it all away. I know that he's genetically engineering humans. I know there's some questionable things that people have conspiracies about, and maybe if Bill Gates or one of his people are listening to this, surely they find that like, you'd think at some point, you know, things like if you're Bill Gates and someone says you created COVID so you could sell the vaccine, like these conspiracies out there, you just gotta laugh at a certain point and go, okay, like, come on, right? That it's fun. Like, it's people find that I'm playing at a poker game. If someone says that, that's gonna get, you know, nods and maybe a laugh, right? Bill Gates did it, but obviously it's a joke, right? And I don't know if maybe all this guilting or all this maybe it had an effect on him. Maybe that's what it's just. It was just that one thing. You guys, you know, he's trying his best to improve humanity. Unlike some other people who, like, don't get me started on Jeff Bezos. Do not. I've talked about him in previous episodes, and I'll come back to him now and then. Musk, Musk is sort of in the middle. There's pros and cons to Musk. There's some things I like that he does. There's some things he does that are awful. But right now, Bill Gates giving away all his money, like, that's insane. Like that, you know, I think, you know, what would be a good thing if he really wants to really be a rebel, the complete rebel billionaire that saves America, spend at least $1 billion off that 200 billion on a massive lobby on wealth taxes. So all the other billionaires, all the people that even the multimillionaires and the mini kings of society, you know, your local businessman that owns a dozen businesses, all these people need to be held accountable, and you got to lobby for increased taxation on them, and use that taxation to deliberately build competitors to sponsor competition in those very industries that get taxed from, because that's why, like, that's how a good free market capitalist society should work. And if Bill Gates really wants to make a long term legacy change, contact Elizabeth Warren, and anyone who's worth 10 million or more. There's a wealth tax, and if you're against that and you make less than 10 million a year, I'm just gonna say you're an idiot. Like, if you actually can't see why these people who don't pay enough taxes are a problem, like, the whole point of this series is okay, I'm gonna pause for a second here. There's a rubles account balance. There's a US dollars account balance available to my Soviet government here, right, in America. But there's also a private equity account balance. And what is the private equity? And I've explained this a few times, but I'll say it again. We have an import price and an export price on things. If I export, I get 95 cents. If I import, I pay $1.05. Where does that 10 cents go? I'll give you a hint. It's the missing private equity account. And with profit takers in the system, eventually all the money disappears. And the only way to get it out is, well, there's two solutions: continue printing fiat currency, or tax the private equity pool. And if you're for neither of those, you are anti-American. There'll be no money left to run America, and your thought process will collapse the nation, and therefore you are an idiot. You're just a complete idiot, okay? There's no discussing this point with you. This is not an opinion. You're just an idiot, okay? So watch the show, learn a bit more about how money works, and you'll understand the importance of taxing the wealthy and how it's an alternative, right? Again, we could do fiat currency, but there's which in a way kind of works like taxing, but it causes inflation, right? Whereas taxing the wealthy lets you have government. Again, it has a double effect. If you tax the wealthy, you can create competitors so that people that have monopolies on things, like some places, they'll monopolize the price of the internet, and you therefore, because there's only one competitor delivering your internet, the price is high. But if you tax that company heavily, then sponsor a competitor, they have to bring their prices down. And this is what a good functioning society would do. But it's so corrupt that it won't do that right now. If Bill Gates really wants to make a long-term impression, change the way the system works, that's just the nature of numbers. Okay, so a bit of a rant there. Let's get back to gameplay a little bit here. I want to build a grand monument. I think let's have a check here. The only thing I'm really watching here is the heat, to make sure we have enough garbage. Yeah, we have 13 workers in, filling up this, and this guy's basically going non-stop, dropping it off, and they're burning it at just fast enough. It's not producing much heat, but it might slow the rate at which, like, this building they are going to eventually abandon, and there's not much else I can do it. Maybe we can catch that truck that's on the way from, let's have a look where it is, because it had some extra garbage to bring over, so it's like doing two things for one. Let's see if we can catch it right here. I don't think it's fast enough to be that close yet. Oh yeah, it's a long ways away, and it's winter. So let's just check if there's any issues here. I was adding I'm building a water facility here. Construction's working good. Okay, I'm not going to worry. That's as much as I care about that. The reason I'm building the water treatment and not using the trucks is because there seems to be a downtime when they're short on water and they can't process the cattle, so that's costing money. So I want to make sure that's fixed. One other thing I want to go over here now is, I mentioned earlier in the episode, the technology for grand monuments. And if that's the topic of this show, the grand monuments that influence loyalty, I'd like to build one right now. Let's do that. So if you're following the series, one of the big things is loyalty. Okay? And one of the ways to get loyalty, these statues. Okay? Like in the US, you got your what's it called, that thing in Washington. There's a whole bunch in Washington. Washington's a super loyal city, right? Because of the grand monuments they have. We have some of these monuments, like right here. We have uh, Eternal Flame Obelisk. Okay, it's not called an obelisk in Washington though. I wonder if people in Washington really realize that's like an Egypt, like it clicks in. Hey, that's in Egyptian symbology, right? Like you know, I have one of the theories of why the pyramids were built. It was the first example of where um, a clique at the top of society, the top of the social status, were able to convince people to build a pyramid. And that's why they were built. It was the first example of mind control, and they'd sell you through stories, right? Like you to appease the sun god Ra, you must build a pyramid. You will have problems in life if you don't, and taught children this, much like religion eventually did. But it was the first time it sort of worked. They're like, hey, we can convince these people to build pyramids, and nowadays that convinces people to build cities. So that's the Freemason conspiracy, so to speak. That's why I think there's some Egyptian symbology in Washington, is that it is a propaganda system, right? This is in this game here. Uh, this these statues basically increase loyalty. People look at them and they think, but it's kind of like the original marketing before television. You would have these kind of things to as your teachers, right? It's just a inanimate object that convinces you to behave a certain way, right? The eternal flame, that the nation must exist forever, right? It's kind of, and it might mean humanity to some people. And, because it has branding of the nation itself, it's usually national loyalty. There's a few of these statues in our Soviet Republic. They're kind of, I hover over them, you can see the buildings they cover, right? So these cover this one covers these buildings. Um, as far as I can tell, too, there is a certain degree of stacking to them. See how these ones are covered? They'll be loyal here. There's one in here somewhere right here. This covers a whole bunch of them, right? I don't know if there's one. There should be one covering this church. Oh yeah, this one probably covers the church. Let's see. No, nothing covers the church. It's strange. I wonder if the church just can't be covered. Or maybe it's just out of range. We have playgrounds throughout our nation, but beside all our schools, we have like a playground, right? Wherever there's a school, there's a playground, right? Because it's just efficient to put them there, because there's going to be kids around there. Like, you can learn that in Duh magazine. But the other things on this menu here are the statues or the monuments. This one here, the Lenin one, it's a little bit big, but it doesn't, like, it's 4.5% loyalty, but it has a very narrow radius. Maybe we'll add some of these later, okay? And in terms of the value, they all have a higher, like, varying loyalty ratings, 4.5, 2.4. They're between 2.2 and 4.5, and they go like 90 to 150 meter radius. But this one here, this red star, 5.2% loyalty and 415 meter radius. So creates a lot of loyalty and has a lot of radius. So this required a technology to research. And if we look at our little measuring tape here, what is 400 meter radius? Okay, so let's hypothetically say we put one, I don't know, here. What's 400 meters? It would cover up to all the way, like around here. This is where we're getting it. So this would cover this whole area. We could put one for the whole city, but we're going to expand here. So I want to bias one on this side, and it can affect the loyalty of these buildings too. So I want to put one over here as well. So let's do that. You'll notice too, if you look at the channel that you're in, the screenshot, that's what this is. That's the Red Star Monument. let's say we put it right here. Is 450 going to cover these houses? No, it won't. It'll cover up to here. So some of these won't be loyal. I think this is like a high crime neighborhood. I think we got some issues there. I want to double check if we can get any coverage. Maybe it should go right by the church. Let's see if we can fit it in. Oh. Yeah, I think it's going to go here. We're going to... I changed my mind here. Change my mind. Oh, it's right there. Right there. The spot. Nothing else can go there. This is a very, very busy corridor. 450 meters. Can we get this area here? Right, yeah, we can kind of get up to here. So this area is covered, right? 400, and it's kind of covers everything we have right now. This, yeah, that's like here. Yeah, just barely. Just barely. So that's a much better place. And here we have to start. This is kind of the boundary here. This guy isn't loyal. So this guy's loyal, but this one isn't. So we want to make sure our next one can cover this house here. So I think maybe if we were to put it around here in this area, I think this might be a good area. Maybe here even. Because I believe it also affects the places you work, because it highlights them in green, so I can only conclude that. Let's see if we can get one in here. Yeah, I don't think I'll... Like, I might adjust this a little bit offline, because I'm not exactly sure if this makes full sense in this area. Okay, let's just measure that out before I go and say that's the best spot. Because if it doesn't cover the area we just we want to cover, then it's pointless, right? Does this reach our house here? Oh yeah, it even covers over here a little bit. Just enough. And it goes... Ooh. Does it reach here? Yes, it does. Not there, though. Does it cover over here? It covers some buildings here. I don't know if I'm... Like, I think a lot of our foreign workers are going to work in this area anyway, so it's not as big a deal. This isn't a bad spot. I'm beginning to think this area here is the best spot. Right around here. There could be more development. More things happening. It's such a big decision, right? Because you don't want to build extra of these. They're not cheap, okay? They're fairly pricey. You know what would be nice to have? It would be nice to have the Grand Monument and a parking lot there, but I think we're gonna put it right here. Right here seems like the best area. I can always change my mind offline. It's not a big deal. Oops, I didn't mean to delete that. Just redo this a little bit. Sometimes it's a little bit pleasant to watch the paths get built, so we'll get some road building in here. Check my frames, my audio, nothing getting disconnected. I think there's kind of nice. Maybe right by the park, so the kids know to, you know, they learn about the park for the kids. No, this isn't a park. This is a sports field. I might destroy it later and put a parking lot up. Is this grand enough? Doesn't look too grand. Like here's, you know what, here might be okay. This might be the grandest. Again, I'm not, I'm doing this for practicality, not cosmetics. There's a lot of people, they show you pictures of the city, but they're playing not on realistic mode. And they got add-on packs, and it's aesthetically appealing, but this is for a pure functionality. This is to maximize the loyalty of the people. Let's try that. So we have a path, and then we have a dividing line here. Let's go like this. It's kind of like that looks a little bit normal. So actually, let's connect this here to here. That looks sort of normal. and then we'll figure out the sharpest line. That doesn't look too bad. Maybe parallel to it too. Looks okay. That looks sort of okay. And then anyone getting off the bus can stare at this big red star monument. So this is a really good spot. So there you go. That's how you make grand monuments in Soviet Republic. All right. Let's talk about another topic here. I want to talk about something stupid for a bit, aside from the nose scratching episode. I want to talk about a show that was popular in the 80s called LA Law. I think it was 80s and 90s. And it's not... I just want to throw back on this because maybe it's an interesting clip. And the story of LA Law. And it had a bunch of like lawyers in it. Probably one of the top, before Legal Eagle and all the major, the YouTube law shows came up. I think this would have been one of the top shows for lawyers and people interested in law back in the 80s. And it's been a while since I watched it. I don't remember all the details. But I just want to shout out to the best lawyer that was on the show. His name was Benny. And I think he was an actor as Darkman. And he was, from what just if you can, check out Benny in LA Law. One of the best lawyer actors of all time. Everyone liked him in the show. And he had creative ways of solving problems. So just a bit of an old school reference. Benny of LA Law was one of the best lawyer actors ever, I think, and I think a lot of people will appreciate Benny. Again, I'm just reading a script here. The writer gives me this, I read it. Okay, I don't. Some of it, I don't. I'm not fully responsible for. Okay. Ooh, there's another thing that's going on here. I'm building a little meat storage facility, and it's going to distribute meat into this local shopping center, and it will be kind of a buffer for meat deliveries downtown. Because I noticed we run out of meat quite often in the city, so we don't have enough trucks. But by having this meat storage facility, we'll have a forklift here that can move out of the storage facility. So technically, we don't need to service this small shopping center anymore. Actually, they're missing meat right now, so this is a very high priority. I don't think... Are we delivering there? No, we're not, which is actually correct. We just really got to get this high priority so that the meat truck can... or the forklift can start delivering meat. So we'll keep an eye on that. Is there a notify when finished? Yes. I want to be notified on that one. The nice thing about doing a re-show is I don't have to create a new script for it. So some of the things I'm talking about, I'm just representing. I bought an external drive from Best Buy, and it was making a grinding noise. And it was a really cheap one. I won't say who the manufacturer was, and I'm not sure if, it appears as if there might be a conspiracy here where it's engineered to go bad after a year. And so I bought this external drive, and it was making this grinding noise, and I really didn't trust it. So I go to Best Buy, and he says, well, I know you need another hard drive right away. Why don't you order the new one and then just return one of them? And then you'll know if there's a problem. But I ordered the new one at Best Buy, and it also made the grinding noise. And then I'm like, oh man, I thought this was it wouldn't be present in the new one, right? Like a 1-year warranty on a external drive, and it was 14 terabytes of data. I'm like, it's gonna take a while, even though I'm a new streamer here. That would take, like, the warranty is gonna expire by the time I fill it. So I was like, I'm like, honestly, I'd like to return both of them. So the manager at Best Buy, he let me return both of them. So. A big shout out to Best Buy and that level of customer service where if a new product has something fishy about it, just let them know right away. Like it was within the first 30 days, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like this sound. Like I have another external drive. It does not make these sounds. It's been running for years, and this one has a much lower warranty. The price was really, really low. I don't want to risk it. Like if I lose... Ooh, I'm scratching my arm right here. trouble. So shout out to Best Buy. I know I've had some issues with them in the past. I know there's probably some people who are like, Best Buy is the worst place. I tried to return something after 31 days, but hey, to allow me to return both these things just because I suspected they were going to be bad, that's and that's good for them too. That it sends a message to the manufacturers: don't engineer the obsolete products. Make good products, or people aren't going to buy them. So, and a side note: external hard drives. What's with the 1 year warranties? That's a joke. We're supposed to be getting better and better technology. Why is it getting worse? And I literally have an episode called "Engineered Obsolescence," and I talk about it throughout the series. So, but Best Buy is at least acknowledging the problems of some of these monopolized manufacturers who are selling potentially inferior products, and that external drive really made me nervous. So shout out to Best Buy for allowing me to return that. All right, back to the game here. Let's. Oh, yes, we got a notification that our facility was built, and you know what that means? We can grab meat here, reload the meat, and we unload the meat. We unload whatever they want, and there we go. This will fix the meat problem. I don't think we've actually watched the forklifts work up close, but this is kind of efficient, right? Because our truck delivers 3 times the capacity of this store in meat, but now it's going to deliver it to this meat storage facility, and this little forklift is going to just manage it for us, right? So it never over delivers. So we might not need another meat truck. See, just a more efficient economy. Okay, we got something going on here. We are buffering a bit of garbage, and I think we're going to put this guy, because we have a little bit of garbage here. We're going to haul some more out faster. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to assign a route. I want to empty out these. I want to completely, let's get rid of dump 2, which is being used by dump cleaner. So let's put this guy on dump cleaner like this. So this will give us some more heating resources. I want these big garbage containers running non-stop. I scratched my arm earlier, but it wasn't on camera. It was just below, so that doesn't count. That's and I might have scratched my face unconsciously. If you you might have noticed while I was talking, but I don't remember doing it. Dunning-Kruger, right? Unaware of my own flaws. Much like all rich people. They're the most Dunning-Kruger people. Like, PhDs, the most educated people are also the dumbest people, and it's because of the principle that they're told they're smart unconditionally, and they have nothing to prove. A lot of the PhDs I've worked with in my life, like, they're reasonably smart, but they're just heavily specialized, and in some ways dangerously dumb. Which is worse, a monarchy or a society of many kings? I did mention it earlier in the episode, and in my opinion, the United States is a society of many kings. And is it better or worse than a single monarch? And I'm going to say in some cases it's worse than monarchy, because you have like local mini kings, community leaders, civic officials who are incompetent. Okay, they're popular. They know how to convince you. They lie to you, but once they're in power, they use that power to benefit themselves, and it's not necessarily going to be good for society to have too many mini kings, because even though a mini king isn't as powerful as a king, if you're not as educated as a king, in some cases it can be worse. I know historically, like, the reason the U.S. separated from England was the fact that at the time the king wanted too much money. But if a new king is less greedy, or they return, when they collect those resources, they can then redistribute them back to, they can pick and choose which communities get the resources. So if the U.S. Were to benefit from a benevolent king, they might actually be, the U.S. might be better off if run by a king. So what's worse, many kings or a king? You know, the kings had the benefit of the royal society and like, supreme knowledge. Many kings, they got, you know, maybe they got a CRM, maybe they got Salesforce for information. They buy a mailing list from someone, but that's really not much. Like that's not the same level as like the Royal Society level of information. Like if you have access to people's social security numbers, you know everything about them, you're going to be a better administrator. So what's worse, many kings or kings, right? I think in some cases the U.S. is worse off than if it had a monarchy. There are definitely some communities where the corruption is so bad that you actually would be things are clearly worse than if a king were in charge. So comment below your thoughts on that. Maybe that's an outrageous thing to say, but I see a lot of really, really dumb leaders in the world, and these mini kings that, and no one, they make the rules, and that always ensures it's them, their family or friends are always in office or making decisions. Of course, they're never going to increase the taxes on the rich because they make the rules on themselves, right? So, just a bit of a comment on that. Okay, our orphanage has some problems here. We're running out of people. We are running out of people. We have enough jobs, but we don't have enough people to fill the roles because some people are having issues. Oh, another thing too, you should always keep an eye on your hospital in winter. When the heat gets to be a problem, the next stage is the hospital has to treat people who are too cold. And if it can't do that, that's when they get sick or they leave. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a little custom route for this guy. This could be interesting. Very interesting. I might actually make this a permanent route. Well, somewhat permanent. So I'm going to pause this here. And I'm going to say to him, go here, pick up some mixed waste, because we got to empty out that ash. Dump out the ash, unload the ash. And go grab some high quality garbage. Load, right? Unload it here. Go right to the facility. Unload it. And then go here next. Load. Actually, you know what? That's dumb. What am I doing? It's not. There's like a. So we'll unload it, the garbage, and then we'll pick it up, the less pure, the medium quality garbage. Right? And we'll then go back in a loop here and unload that mixed waste. So let's do that. This guy will be busy indefinitely. See, we don't have anything picking up the ash right now because we're so busy getting it dumped in as fast as possible. So while this guy will be responsible for getting rid of the ash, but simultaneously servicing these other buildings, right? So let's see what this guy. Yeah, so he's supposed to go to. He's going to load some. And is there a load? Yeah, there should be a full load here. We'll see him load up. He should get a 6.5 tons. Make sure that's working really quickly. Yeah, it's in a big bin, so it loads real quick. Should be almost instant, really. But now that's I think if we hover over the truck, we can actually see it's all ash. We can't bring this back in to get some metal scraps out of it. It is useless at this point. We should check out too on that guy, that rogue route. See if we missed him. Yeah, let's see where this guy is. Oh, we just missed. Oh, he's on his way back. You know what I'm gonna do? We're gonna send him here, and let's go look at him quickly. We're gonna make him turn around real quick. So the trucks only turn around at forks in the road, so I'll put a fork right there. Let's make him turn around, and then we'll bulldoze that. All right, so we were a little slow. Thank God we have this fast highway so we can get back into operation as fast as possible. We now have 3 people burning at the incinerator, so this is going to dissipate pretty quick. So that when that guy arrives, he'll be able to bring a load. Well, like, we're just staying above 0. This is almost a nightmare scenario. Like, the nightmare scenario would have been if there's more apartments here, and we had like no garbage at all to feed into there. But offline, I'd like to begin building this rail line. Like, we are building a rail line here. Just want to make sure it's being built. Actually, we have no rail workers working right now. Let's put like 2. Just see if any can get in there. And I have a question. Do happy people swear less? Just I wonder if that's ever been investigated. The amount of swearing versus how happy someone is. Is swearing an indicator of disgruntlement? Can that be used as an analytical tool to determine whether someone is going to be in a bad mood? Or do happy people swear more? You know, how does that correlate? So just let me know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know, just random topic. It's just a thought. Sometimes I just write down random thoughts. See, this warehouse here was built for the purpose of storing extra food and, well, just extra food mainly to bring into this small shopping center. And I want to make this a potential source of food for our distribution office. However, I am going to blow up this distribution office shortly, so actually let's just add it right now. Let's just add it, because we can copy this list onto the new distribution office when it gets built. So right now it's just an alternate source to pick up food, because running out of food sucks. You don't want there to be food shortages, right? So it's just an extra buffer, and it also lets me not have to send a delivery truck to this shopping center, because the forklift can also use it. So it will also be added to it. So it will load from the warehouse, LA surplus. It will load food, and that's it. It will just unload food. I might want to put another, I might put clothing or electronics in there as well. I was thinking electronics, to be honest, because this is a little far away to get electronics. Maybe I'll put a bit of both in there. But this just got built. It's not even connected to the food factory, so let's not be too specific just yet. We're going to keep the clock running. We're getting almost near the end of winter here, so keep an eye on things. There's been much worse winters than this. Is actually probably one of the best winters yet, even though there's a lot of problems. Let's check on our train here, see how it's doing. Loading. Ooh, we're not picking up enough alcohol. Alcohol's about at capacity. We got to adjust this route a little bit. Not super economically efficient, but we're just going to quickly change this line to go from 20 to 100% in one load. This will make us a big cash haul. Let's clear out our warehouse, right? I'm going to scratch my arm a little bit here. It's my arm, but I'm not scratching it on camera. So that's because my arm was a little bit itchy. I feel like I might have scratched my face not too long ago. It feels like I might have unconsciously did it. I don't remember doing it. Okay. Oh, here's another topic. Actually, I missed this in the last episode and the last recording. Is why can't we make certain things? Have you ever wondered why you're not allowed to like make your own cigarettes anymore? There's a lot of places, for example, where you can't. When I was younger, you could buy a tin of tobacco, and you could buy a cigarette making machine and the empties, but they don't sell that anymore. And I think things like alcohol, certain security stuff, you're not allowed to make. And the question is why? I thought we were in a free market, right? I thought, like, why are there gatekeepers preventing you from making your own cigarettes? Like, that should be a pretty basic thing you should be allowed to make. but you're not allowed to. So the question is why? And the reason is that business owners have monopoly on the rules, right? If, a lot of business owners have survivor bias. They think they're successful because they're good, but the reason they're successful is because they had enough upfront capital to convince a lawmaker that they were the best option. So just being rich is the number one kind of qualifier for making yourself wealthy. Like there is very little class mobility in the U.S. So, and one of the clues is the fact that even basic things you're not allowed to make. Just something to ponder, right? Why that is. Just so you're aware, if you think that you live in the U.S. or Canada or Europe or something, and you think you're in a free society and you're better than North Korea, well, you're not even allowed to, like, obviously there's certain things you can't say. There's so much censorship in Western media, are debatably worse than socialist nations. Like even this show, some of the things I talk about get flagged. It's like I'm asking for taxation on the rich. I get flagged for that, right? Wonder who's flagging me. But that's another peculiarity of Western society is the limitation on your rights to make certain things. Like clearly there's some things that are dangerous. I get it. But don't claim that this is a free market society when in actual fact the big joke is that socialism exists for the rich, right? And they're the ones given the privilege to make the cigarettes or whatever. But these laws are not good for the economy and they sink a nation. So just something to think about. Well, yeah, the big. I gotta go over the numbers to do my analysis of how we're gonna do for the full series. Is this gonna go bad? We're gonna check our numbers. I actually did this in the recording that was dropped, but that was actually a while ago. Oh, sorry, we forgot to do something here. Just realized the population. I forgot to do a census count. So 94.72, close enough. We usually get within a few days. As soon as spring comes, we're supposed to count the people. That's actually up 600 people from last year. But again, we're moving people around, but they're not. They didn't leave, which is a good sign, right? Ooh, I just realized something here. I hope there's. Yeah, we don't have that closed when above zero. We don't want that to close down just yet. Like even though it's not super cold anymore, the snow's gone. It's still cold. We still need the heat. But I'm going to lower this to 2 workers, I think. Three's probably good. There's still some there. We'll just keep it at 3. So we don't want to have any extra at the end. We want nothing left in the tank, so to speak. I want to do the analysis. Are we doomed or are we guaranteed success? Let's look at the numbers here. Okay, so in rubles, how are we doing? 4.5 million borrowing. It hasn't changed much, so that's looking good. That indicates we're not doomed in rubles. Okay. 27,000. This originally we were at 2% interest rates. Now we're getting up to 2.3. That's going up, and our amount due is 27,000. We can look at some charts, but a lot of this stuff doesn't really tell the full story because we have some projects going underway. Obviously, we're losing money because we're borrowing a bit more each time, but as our economy gets more productive, that could change. So there's improvements here. Like there's going to be a point where this setup here affects our rubles, right? We don't have the technology to make gas yet. Eventually we'll get there, but I think we'll lean on this for our ruble balances. So are we going to go off the fiscal cliff and become non-communist? I'll say no. That switching to BRICS for Soviet America is like BRICS. Getting off the Western dollar is an option if based on what I'm seeing here. 4.5 million and that's kind of like your credit score. 4.5 million. So that's not bad. But let's check our dollars. Okay, our dollars are 2.3 million. That's not good. That that means at a certain point we can't buy from Canada anymore because we're going to be borrowing too much. Now, don't get me wrong, we have been surviving just barely here, and we don't have our factories maxed out in terms of population. We had another rough winter just surviving. So this one is a little more bleak. This could be the end of, the US dollar, the fiat currency. Like at 2.3, this was 4.5 million to start. So in 13 years, we're on track to go bankrupt in US dollars. 4.5 down to 2.3. Again, I think we're getting more efficient going forward. So I think we got at least 13 more years before we go off the cliff. So that's why, if this is the halfway episode of the series, it just end. That there might not be a season 2 unless we can switch to rubles, in which case maybe San Francisco can operate off rubles, and that could be a season 2 thing, right? Are we doomed? US dollars, I don't think we're doomed nor guaranteed to succeed with either. But in terms of the US dollar account, I think we're a little more leaning towards doomed. And the rubles dollar account, we're a little bit more leaning towards success. Maybe not a concrete answer, but if you watched the episode for this long, that would be at least you got your payout, right? You got to see my analysis of the situation. Oh, my beard's a little bit itchy. Oh, I want to scratch right there, right in my beard, but maybe it'll go away. There's a couple of topics I'll save for next episode. They're just a little bit too heady for the winding up phase. You can only be focused for, I'm assuming some people are binge watching this series to series, and sometimes you just want it to end. Like, come on, this show. Like when I'm watching Rogan, sometimes near the end, I wish this would end, but I gotta watch the end. Just because I've watched this far into it, I've gotta watch the end. And I can see how much longer is in the end. As I'm saying this, I don't know how much longer there is till the end, but I'm going to tell you it soon here. I think we're going to wind it up shortly because I do think less is more at this point. Just check the houses, no complaints. See the house, look, they stayed full all winter. That's the first winter that's happened. Where there's 25 people in this house at the start of winter, and there's 25 after. And this loyalty thing, this is going to make it even harder for them to leave. These 2 grand monuments. I think that's not a bad... Grand monuments, that's an interesting title. You gotta click that. What's it mean? Like, what does it mean, grand monuments? If you don't play the game, you might not know what it means, but... that's what it is. It's going to be these 2 things. It's this big red star. And if you've seen the banner on some of my channels here, the big red star, that's the grand monument. That's where it comes from. It's a highly influential thing. And oh, look at this, 97, almost 97%. We're going to be able to start researching radios soon and picking and choosing who lives where. So that means our workers are going to produce even more per unit once they're super loyal and all their basic needs are taken care of, which I think we're doing okay with. I don't see anyone complaining about too much stuff here. No frames drop. If this audio, like I'm watching my audio bar here, and if you don't hear this, well, I guess what can I do, right? If somehow the Twitch, there's a radical right lunatic that's like, I do not want to hear about problems rich people make in society, and I want to censor you, and I'm muted right now, and I noticed some of my videos are muted on Twitch, so Twitch, what's with that? Like, I clip them out, and they're not muted when I clip them, and then I put them on Twitch, and they're muted. It's like, what's going on? It's like, and they give such a broad list of reasons, but as far as I know, I'm not violating any reason whatsoever. I'm going to actually see if I can clip this. I'm going to put this up because I want this to be a priority issue. I want someone to watch it and go, why are his videos showing up as muted, even though he's not setting them as muted? Like, who's doing that? It could just be a bug, too. And I'm providing feedback, just letting you know there's a glitch in your system that's not allowing the clips to come out with volume. They're just muted by default. And that's going to be unpleasant for the people who watch the clips. So if you could work on that, that would be awesome, Twitch. Again, I have a gigabit modem, theoretically. Again, the internet companies are scammers, and it might not really be full gigabit. And I have, like, as far as I can tell, all my network should be good. But the bizarrety is that it, like, this entire episode doesn't have an FPS issue that I can see. It never dropped. No, 0 frames drop. What? It tells me there's something else kicking in and doing it. Like maybe it could be Windows doing background stuff. In which case, shame on you, Windows. You're making Twitch look bad. Anyways, I think that's it for the episode. We're into summer again. I'm gonna play a little bit. Maybe we'll return in 1974 and come up with something interesting for the next episode. I'm gonna guess I scratched my face 2 times. I think I might have once, and I'm gonna just hedge my bet and say there might have been an unconscious time, just so I'll see how grounded in reality I was in this episode. Again, a beard twirling, that doesn't count. Um, and arm scratching doesn't count. If it's like here, it's like I'm scratching my arm, that doesn't count. So, uh, hopefully you enjoy this episode. If you have ideas for other content, other things you want to see, other games, this is the halfway. It's the I think the silver anniversary of the season, 25 of 50. I'm not promising 50 episodes, but it'll be about 50. In which case I'll probably do another game, and then maybe I'll come back and do a season 2 in San Francisco or something. Just let me know. Um, and if you started watching the series late, and I think each episode gets a little bit more, proper as it goes. Some of the older episodes, maybe they're not so good. I don't like the older episodes as much as the newer ones, but everyone's got a different opinion on things. So maybe you've watched everyone. Just let me know. So hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week.